Hey, what's going on YouTube? Today I'm gonna be talking about my cast and crit Frostblink Wintry Blast build. So a little background on how I came up with this idea. I was browsing PoE Ninja for some inspiration, and I found somebody using cast on crit Cyclone uh, Frostblink of Wintry Blast with the Bronze Lith Cutthroat's Garb. And if you don't know what Bronze Lith is, it gives you +5 levels to your socketed movement gems and 100% increased damage with movement skills. So it's basically doubles your damage on your Frostblink trigger skill. So we're using Bronze Lith as a way to basically double our damage. Apart from that, I noticed people were using claws and they were using like a really cheap unique helmet to get it all together. And I will leave like the PoE Ninja profile in the description of kind of where I got the idea. They were using like Malachi's loop, and it definitely seemed like way more budget than what I was doing or what I wanted to try and do. But basically, I wanted to take that idea and try to luxuryfy it, I guess, or just make it a really high end and see how it performs at the top end. Suffice to say, it works tremendously. The build is dealing currently 128 mil DPS. It has a 69k effective hit pool, so nothing crazy, but for a low life build, it's not bad. It has 81% all res, 80% if you have a different chest piece, which is great, and about 37k armor, and with the Watcher's Eye you get to about 88-89% physical damage reduction. And then with Progenesis active, we are Chaos res capped. And with Petrified Blood, the defensive layer is there. It's actually quite solid. And with enough regen, which this build has a pretty good amount of HP regen, sitting at around 650 HP regen, it's able to sustain quite well at not dying to degen. And yeah, it easily sustains Righteous Fire as well because of the Ruby Flask tech with Mage Blood. But yeah, so I'll just kind of go over it from step one to step however many and go over my thought process and how I got to where I got. So basically, I knew that it had to be a low life build, and if I was using Bronze Lith, I knew I couldn't use Chevron's wrappings and go energy shield base, so I had to stick to life base. So I had to consider my options for life base and decide, okay, what are the best utilities for the life based version of Cast on Crit. Some things that stood out to me were Towering Threat in the medium clusters, a very good way of getting some extra life. You can also take advantage of the life mastery that says you gain 15% more max life or increased max life if you don't have any life mods on your body armor. Bronze Lith does not, so we get an easy 15% max life there. Apart from that, you know, we're just adding like vitality and stuff for a ton of HP regen. We have some damage recoup added in. We are close to suppress capped. We're not fully suppress capped, but we do get a lot of suppression out of the build as well. And so our defensive layers are pretty padded because of the way that damage scales on Frostblink. It's really easy to scale defenses and not worry so much about the damage. The damage kind of comes from gear. We're then using a small cluster jewel for a little bit of reservation, and we're getting a cool tech with the Forbidden Flesh, Forbidden Flame Shaper of Winter, which has already gone up in price very quickly. This jewel grants us 50% more effective cold ailments, and because of the way we're chilling enemies and applying chill, we're able to actually inflict that with Frostblink of Wintry Blast. So we'll move on to the skills, and I'll kind of explain those. Starting with the 6th link, we have our Cyclone, Frostblink of Wintry Blast, Power Charge on Crit, Awaken Cast on Crit, Inspiration, Elemental Focus. Our Cyclone ends up costing us 1 mana, so we get inspiration charges, and we're able to basically reserve all of our mana otherwise. And then we have regular Frostblink in the weapon in a 3-link with Mark on Hit and Assassin's Mark. And the reason we have regular Frostblink is sometimes you don't want to, sometimes you need to, say, blink over a ledge to collect some loot and there's no enemies around. There's another travel skill, so it is just an additional travel skill, and because of the way the gear is set up, that travel skill actually deals a tremendous amount of damage by itself as a 1-link as well. In the helmet, we have Blasphemy with Frostbite, so we can always be applying our curse to nearby enemies. It's important that we do this because of the way that the build functions. We want to keep it as automated as possible, so we're using Blasphemy to get our Frostbite. And then Petrified Blood, of course, for the low life effect, added defenses, and an Enlighten 4. And then in our gloves, we have Zealotry, Hatred, Determination, and another Awaken Enlighten. Or this is just Enlighten 4 again. These are pretty standard auras for any cold cast on crit build. In the boots, we have our Righteous Fire with an Arrogance setup. We're running level 16 Arrogance because we're trying to get as close to 50% unreserved life as possible without going over, because of the way the mana cost works with Petrified Blood, and since we could be over leeching, etc., we want to make sure that we are always at low life. So we don't want to have any unreserved above 50%, and therefore our Arrogance is only level 16, because if we raise the level any more, it starts to go past that 50% threshold. You might have to tweak your Arrogance if you decide to make this build to fit your needs. Just basically get it as close to 50% as possible. And then with the Arrogance, we have attached Vitality and Herald Device. And then lastly, we have our Guard skill with a free banner because of that which was taken, giving us a free banner basically. We have Defiance Banner, cast when damage taken, and Immortal Call as our Guard skill. For the gear, I have a mirrored Death Slice or Imperial Skein, but any fractured cast on crit cold dagger would do. You can get these same mods pretty cheap without the triple implicit. You just pick up a +1 level of all cold spells, skill gems, fracture, and Essence of Zeal spam for crit, and then Suffix Lock Reforge for the other crit, and then you Ashling for spell damage. Craft on hits can't be evaded. It's quite simple. The shield, on the other hand, is a little bit of a complicated craft. You have to well, there's a few options, but mainly what I say is just go buy it on the trade site. But +2 max all res, and then you're going to want to either Essence of Greed for +1 all cold and then Reforge for cold damage, or you can do the opposite, Essence spam for cold damage and Reforge for cold spell skill. Now +1 to level of all cold is really rare, so it might be difficult to hit. And then I Reforge Chaos for the suffix, and then craft on Suppress. For the helmet, this is a double influenced craft. I'm going to be honest, it's going to be really hard to get a similar helmet to this. I got extremely lucky when crafting this, but basically all you need on this helmet is some lightning res, max power charge, and nearby enemies have -12 to cold res. So you would awaken slam an elevated nearby enemies with a power charge helmet, and then try to get on lightning res, and then you craft on max life. And then we have the body armor, of course, bronze lith. We're using +2 AoE corrupt and then +1 max all res, but if you want more DPS, you can go for +2 AoE and +1 of all socketed skill gems. But do make sure that you're getting a max roll increased damage with movement skills on the chest piece. For the gloves, we're using hybrid fractured increased damage with hits against chilled enemies, and then we are Essence of Envy spamming for suppress, and then you Eldritch Metacraft for life and Ashling on +2 AoE, and then benchcraft the flask effect. For the boots, we're doing hybrid Hunter Crusader boots. You can also do Hunter Shaper boots depending on your preference, and it's a Awaken Slam, you Awaken Slam cooldown recovery rate and Tailwind together, and then you Reforge life for life regen, and then you Reforge life again for max life, and then Ashling on movement speed and craft on armor and evasion. For the amulet, we're using a replica Dragon Fang's Flight with +3 to level of all Frostblink gems with a max reservation efficiency roll. These are really cheap. They're like 15 chaos, and then we're allocating charisma onto it, so a couple of golden oils and your amulet's done. For the ring, I'm using the mirrored ring that I made with Whimsy this league. You can get it at the TFT shop. It's a tier 1 crit multi implicit with max power, spell damage per power, 55 strength, 55 to intelligence, 30% crit multi, max energy shield, reduced mana cost of skills, non-channeling, benchcraft obviously this ring would be better for this build in particular with a life roll, but you're not going to get anything close to this. So I just say screw the life roll and get it. I did. I mean, I made it, but I had to still mirror it because it's in the TFT shop. For our belt, we're running a Mage Blood. As per usual, my builds always come with Mage Blood, mainly because they're all cast on crit builds. And this one, you just need a high dex roll. That's about it. And then obviously 4 flasks. And for the flask, we're running Silver Flask, Ruby Flask, Quartz Flask, Granite Flask with additional elemental resistances, increased armor, regen craft, and reduced mana cost of skills craft. And then a Progenesis for our last flask. And yeah, that's about it. I do want to say this build plays very nicely. You would think that a cast on crit build with a blink skill as your triggered spell would be a little unwieldy and hard to control, but quite the contrary. It's actually very similar to how Flicker Strike feels. You just kind of hold down right click and your character will do the rest for you. It feels a lot better than I expected it to ever feel. So with that being said, I hope you enjoyed this build showcase. I'm going to let the gameplay play out a little bit, and I'll see you the next time. Be sure to like and subscribe if you did and you want to see more content like this, and check out my stream. I stream Monday through Thursday typically. The holidays have been a little weird, but typically Monday through Thursday, so maybe I'll catch you around. Twitch.tv/BikeSpokes. All right, I'll see you later.